I'm so excited to bring you the second in our new series on Rooted. Last week was our first week. We looked at the concept of being planting and being placed. This week, we are looking at the concept of growing and nurturing. I want to ask you a question, though, before I show you an image. Hands up, who has managed to actually plant their seeds from the first week you had me? Yeah? We got some seeds planted? Okay, I had some pictures this week. Some of them have started to germinate. Yeah, good, fantastic. So the seeds are going. The planting is happening. What comes next? I can see you there. You haven't planted them, have you? You forgot. So you're not being planted then, guys. For those that weren't here, that picture will make its way into my slides this sermon series. For those that weren't with us our first week, we looked at this concept of being planted and placed, and everybody was given a packet of seeds. If you haven't been given a packet of seeds, because you've joined us since, come and find me, and we will arrange you to have some seeds. The whole concept of those seeds was that you would plant them during the sermon series, and you would see how they grow. If you haven't planted them yet, this is your reminder to put them in a pot and plant them. This morning we're going to be looking at growing and nurturing, but I want to show you an image. It's a very famous picture. Can we throw it up, please? You'll appreciate I have cleared something off because it's a family service. Who knows this picture? Yeah, you know this picture? Anyone know anything about this picture? What do you know about it? It is. You've also read my slides. Brilliant. It is on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. It's probably the most recreated religious painting. What else do you notice about it? Go to the next slide for me, Alex, will you? What can you notice? One more slide. In the creation of Adam, God's finger is stretched out to the maximum. But Adam, man's finger, remains slightly bent at the last joint. Can you see this? The meaning of this art, or the meaning of the art, is to explain that God is always there, but the decision to seek him belongs to us. Growth and nurturing often requires us to make a decision where we need to choose to allow ourselves to help God grow our lives. I love this painting, and you cannot escape the beauty of that image. In the happiness and the sadness and the difficulty and the frustration and all the joy and celebration of our lives, God's finger remains outstretched. The decision to allow him to work in our lives, to meet us, belongs to us. And if our posture is always a bent finger, not quite ready to outstretch to him, to think of that in a practical sense, it's like living as a Christian with one foot in and one foot out. We're ready, we're nearly there, but growth and nurturing requires this beautiful moment where we change from a bent finger to an outstretched finger, and we say, God, I'm going to meet you. You've already gone over halfway. I'm going to meet you in that last bit. It illustrates that beautiful narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. But this morning, we're seeing this in a different light as it talks about an element of the nature of growth. How many of us in our lives have had those clinch moments? Or maybe some of us are in those moments right now. Either way, there is what I call a choice moment. A moment with growth where we have to make the choice as to whether we're going to allow ourselves to stretch or whether we're happy with a slightly reserved posture. One of the best analogies I have ever heard about growing with God is this idea of an elastic band. The thing with an elastic band, I should have got it on the stage, I do apologize, is that there is this beautiful tension that you can find, hey? Where when you're pulling it, It's not snapped, but there's a tension. With an elastic band, if you think of us as one side and God as the other, either we want to be in that place of tension. Pastor, you can't say that my relationship with God is tense. I can. Not because of him. There's this moment where your elastic band is outstretched. Or we do the opposite and we snap the elastic band by pushing too hard. Or we don't bother by putting our hands in the middle and letting the elastic band be loose. In growth, there is this beautiful moment where we have those tensions, but they are there to help us grow. Where we stretch, but don't snap. Where we're in this place of stretching, where we are doing that. And the thing is, for those that have ever put elastic band on their fingers and done that, you know that sometimes it gets a bit tiring when you're fully outstretched, so you come back in again and you wait and then you go back out again. That element of stretching is vital in our personal growth, and it is vital in what God's plans are for us. Let me read you a passage, if you could throw it up, from 1 Corinthians verses 3, 5 to 7. Very famous, and we're going to explore that briefly this morning. What, after all, is Apollos, and what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe. As the Lord has assigned to each his task, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. God always blesses the public reading of his scriptures. Let me give you some background to that passage this morning. In this passage, Paul, the author of this letter, addresses the division that's happening in the Corinthian church. He is highlighting the importance of God as the source of growth rather than emphasizing human leaders or teachers. I've said this before, and I will always say this. Do not put me on a pedestal. Never build your faith around me. I will let you down because I am human. If your faith is a Sunday faith where you put it on God and you turn up on Sunday and you are happy, please never place that on me. Your growth, your relationship with God is so important, but it's yours. It's not mine and yours, it's yours. Your decisions to follow God, the things you do to interact with him. Yes, I have my own relationship. Yes, you have your own relationship, but never put the things of man above the things of God in this world, or you will fall short and you will be disappointed. Secondly, he uses an agricultural analogy to illustrate how he, Paul, and Apollos, another leader, have each played a role in planting and watering, but only God is the one that gives it church. We will never become a church where our ego gets so inflated because we start to grow thinking it's anything we've done. It's all because of him. Growth is because of him. The kingdom expanding is because of him. It's not because of what we do. He is the one that does it. We can plant, we can water, we can help, but he is the one that enables the growth to happen. Now, lastly, he is speaking into historical context here because largely this was an agricultural society. He is also putting into an association of gardening with God and creation. He is the one that is using this analogy. Paul is using this analogy to speak into the context of those that he is speaking to. It suggests that gardening was a valued activity in this context. But he is still making it so clear to them that they should never put their things in the things of man before God. I want to talk to you about 2 points briefly this morning. First, zip it across for me if you would, thank you. First, heavenly growth and earthly growth. They are two different things. Never mistake yourself thinking that heavenly growth and earthly growth are exactly the same thing. They are not. The things that matter to us here will not matter to us anywhere near as much as we think in heaven. They will not. Heavenly growth and earthly growth are two different things. When you ask people what growth means, we often start to think about babies, don't we? Oh, they grow, they get bigger, and they get bigger, and they get bigger. And in my case, I never stopped getting bigger. For adults, It's more, I think growth means influence. It's your clout. It's how much you're needed. It's how much of your time people are willing to pay for. How big can my influence grow? But it seems that we live in a world where growth is often paired with influence, doesn't it? The problem we are running into here with our passage is that the Corinthians were divided, with some identifying as Paul's, some identifying as Apollos', and others identifying with Cephas, Peter. And so we start to see people identify with different people. Then these identifications grow and grow and grow. And suddenly, because they've been so concerned about earthly growth, they've lost the purpose of why Paul was sent and why God was placed, to grow his kingdom. They became fractious and in different factions of the church. They were essentially prioritizing human leaders over the core message of the gospel. Their growth had been turned into a game of popularity, not and had lost the identity of what God wanted to do. So what does Paul do? He responds by saying to each of them and emphasizing that he and Apollos are simply, the word used, are servants to the mission of God. They are servants. They are not the people leading. They are removing themselves from the place of hierarchy where the people have put them and saying, we are servants to God's mission. We are not God. I am a minister. I am your pastor. I am not your God. They remove the elements of hierarchy that have been placed on them. He uses the metaphor of planting, Paul, and watering Apollos to show that their roles are separate, but both are dependent on God for the actual growth to happen. You can water and water and water and water and water all you want, but if you don't have a seed in there, you've got a big puddle. Can't you? And if you don't plant the seed, and you 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 plant the seed, but there's a drought and no rain happens, you've got a load of seeds, and not much more. And you can be waterlogged in one, or you can be dry in the other. The growth comes from God, and our growth comes from relationship with God. I can read you this book left, right, up, down, sideways. I can quote it every day of your lives. I can tell you page numbers. I can show you the brilliance of it in my life. I can show you the revelation of it in my life. But until you open it and read it, you will stunt your growth. There is no substitute as Christians. There is no substitute for prayer and word. If you are looking for an easy route to grow and get to know God better and have a deeper relationship with him, you can't throw money at it. You can't throw anything but time and a desire in his word and prayer to grow personally. God is the source of growth. The core message is that God is the one who gives the growth. The increase in faith and understanding, human efforts, even when done correctly and well, are ultimately second to the power of God. Please do not understand me, though. Please do not understand me. Paul's role is really important. Apollos' role is really important. How can I put this in a context that would help to understand? I've been thinking about this, and it comes from John 12. John 12, we have this powerful moment where we see Lazarus, we see Martha, and we see Mary. Three things are happening, all valued, one more important than the other two. We see Martha serving her socks off. Serving. Really important. Really important for the growth of the church. Really important. Service is a must. It's worship. Then we have Lazarus, who is reclining. Some people see that word as relaxing, with the idea of his feet up in the air. Others see it as the idea of fellowship, where he sat round the table, reclining with his brothers and sisters, eating food. Really important. Rest. I'm terrible at rest. Rest is so important in our church family, and it's so important in our individual growth. But both of them are second to what Mary does. Jesus walks in the room and nothing else matters. The dishes can wait. The carpet can wait. The cleaning can wait. Oh, I'm tired. Yep, I know you're tired. Rest on Monday, enjoy Sunday. Everything can wait. Because when he walks in the room, nothing is as important. He is the one that provides the growth. Nothing is as important in your life as spending time with God in a church context. Nothing. He provides that growth. Heavenly growth differs from what the earth thinks growth is. I think Matthew 20, verse 28, Mark 10, verse 45, and John 13, verses 1 to 17, all sum it up perfectly, where it comes to say, he came to serve, not be served. His mindset, time with him, life with him, is more important than anything else. Moving into the last thing I want to say, I know I've run over, but tough. Whiz it along for me, will you? Growing sometimes means a new pot. Anyone know what the phrase pot-bound means? Some of you will, a lot of you will. Probably in the one context in the UK and Channel Islands where people do know, because all of you are probably growers at some point or have relatives that were growers. Pot-bound. For those that don't mean, it's when a plant needs a new pot because it has become pot-bound. Its roots are circling the edge of the pot. And here are some of the symptoms of being pot-bound. Tell me if any of these resonate with any of us. Number one, root circling. If you observe roots circling the inside edge of a pot, it indicates the plant needs more space for its root system to expand. Number two, slow growth. If a plant is not growing well, despite proper light, despite water, despite nutrients, despite repotting, and despite everything else, repotting can provide a fresh start with new soil and more space for the roots. Number three, frequent watering. If you find yourself watering your plant more frequently than usual and the soil is drying out quicker, it can mean that the roots are taking up most of the water and the plant needs more space. And lastly, roots emerging. If you notice roots poking out of the drainage holes of the pot, it's a clear sign that the plant has outgrown its current container and needs repotted. It doesn't always mean that you are unhappy. Ellie and I were very, very happy in Wales. In fact, we worked out the other day that the current house we have in Wales has had the tenants living in it longer than we managed to live in it when we bought it. We bought it, and about 12 months later, we were barely in it a year, God said, right, are you ready to move? We weren't unhappy, but we didn't realize it was time for us to be replanted to enable the kingdom of God and something in our ministry to grow once again. Now, I'm not telling you all to leave Delancey, don't worry. But what I am saying is, sometimes there are elements of our lives where we don't even realize, but we've become quite pot-bound. We need a fresh expression. We need some new soil. We need something different. You want to talk about frequent watering. Are you being watered? Are you being fed, but you're becoming fat and plump spiritually? And then you're struggling to get moving again. Or are you just going around doing this and not standing still long enough? You see, growth has to force us to be honest about the things in our lives. I think the idea of roots emerging can be the one that terrifies people, businesses, and even churches. We need to make sure that our mentality in church is one that promotes the things that benefit God's kingdom, not our own kingdoms.